Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been less than a month since I last recorded and uploaded it, so this feels like a personal best. I would have recorded this earlier, but I'm still not feeling 100%. That is now 3 months of illnesses, but I will be going to another specialist soon, and hopefully I'll be feeling better. Today I'm going to be reviewing and giving my thoughts, very quick thoughts, on Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. Prophet Song is the 2023 Booker Prize winner. Really, the big picture plot, I guess I could say, is it is about what might happen if the Irish government falls to totalitarianism. What would that look like? What would happen to individual families, individual people? How would conflict develop? What might how would the rest of the world react? Um, it's really this book. It's more than just about Ireland. I think for a very good reason. This book is making big news because it's really speaking about today's political landscape. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, and maybe that's why this book really speaks to a lot of people. Maybe people feel connected to it in that way. Um, but really, ignoring all that as well, it's not just about large groups of people and what us readers might feel. If we boil down this book, it's really just about family, and really in this book about one specific family, about the Stack family. That is their last names, and really, once again, I'd say really a lot. Well, it is about the mother of the family. I looked it up. It's said a number of different ways. We in America, I guess, are influenced by a very famous singer named Billie Eilish, but it's not called Eilish. It's not how you say it, apparently. I'm glad to learn that. But Ailish Stack is the main protagonist's name. And she's a very interesting character. But before I get through Ailish Stack, I want to talk about really the whole family, the rest of the family. Ailish Stack is married to Larry Stack. And he is a member of, I want to make sure I get this part correct. He's a member of the teacher union. He is not, I don't think there's any evidence of him being a teacher or educator himself, but he works and represents the teachers union in Ireland. And for Larry, he is the cornerstone of the family. He is the rock that keeps everybody together, and he's the rock to Ailish's world. And he plays a very central key and part to what happens at the beginning of the novel. And he's a great character. I loved Larry. Very quickly, he's very easy to get to know, very easy to love, and very easy to root for. For Ailish, I'm just going to go in order of their ages. I'm skipping one character. I'll get to him at the end. But Ailish Stack, again, is the mother, the matriarch of the family. She is, I can't pick up on an age. I want to say both Larry and Ailish are probably in there. They're early to mid 40s, I think, is how I viewed them when I was trying to imagine this story. And Ailish has just recently had a baby, a couple months prior to this novel starting, and she is just now returning to work. And this book, the beginning at least, focuses on her trying to balance her work life to her family life and getting back into the rhythm of working. And that was also very interesting. I like that part too. After Larry and Ailish, other characters, they have kids. Obviously, they have the newborn Ben. There's nothing to talk about with Ben, so I'll go ahead and skip Ben. He is the newborn baby. He is going to be one of those characters that just is there to add conflict, add tension, to add another mouth to feed, as we'll see in a little bit. But besides Ben, we have Mark. Oh, Mark. Mark is their oldest child. He is, I think, at the beginning of the novel, he's 16, getting ready to turn 17, which is a big part of the book, as I'll talk about in a little bit. He is very realistic as a teenager, as a teen character. He's very reckless, but he's brave. He's hot-tempered, but he's moody and empathetic. All that, all at once. Very realistic. he's very well rounded as a character. I think out of all the kids, he's probably my favorite character, um, because he feels the most human. He feels the most developed. But there is one thing about Mark that I do not like, and maybe people will know this if you watch this movie. He does remind me a lot of the teenage son from Tom Cruise's War of the Worlds. So just be prepared for that. I didn't like the character in that movie, but Mark is a little bit more redeemable in this book. Um, so just get ready for those comparisons if you know anything about that movie. After Mark, they have a 14-year-old daughter named Molly. Molly, even though she's not my favorite character, she is the character that I root for the most. She is almost the opposite of Mark. Mark is very headstrong. Molly is very withdrawn, unfortunately. We learn that before the events of the novel, she wasn't withdrawn. She wasn't scared. She wasn't, closed in on herself. She used to be very outgoing, used to be, a strong leader with her classmates. She used to be a very vocal and focal point of the family. But in this novel, she becomes a husk of herself. And I definitely feel for Molly. I think she is also a great character, very well done as well. Her story, her parts of the book are very tough to read. I will say that. I did not enjoy reading her parts, not because they were badly written, but they were tough to read. I think really one part why I might dislike reading this part is because I think a lot of us readers might think we are like Mark or like Larry, but when something bad really happens, I think a lot of us might be like Molly. So she's definitely very realistic as well. So that's two very realistic kid characters in this novel. Great characters. But then we get someone who I'm very much grappling with my thoughts about this character. They have another son. His name is Bailey, and he is 12 years old, and that's the age that I teach. And I will just say this. If I taught a student who acted like Bailey, I would be very, very aggravated and frustrated with this character. He is also the most unrealistic, I think, of the kids, and how he treats his parents, how he treats the other members of his family. He is very selfish. I think that's done on purpose, right, to add another, layer of conflict to this novel. But I just feel like Bailey, he doesn't fit at all. He doesn't fit, I would say, the themes of family going on in this book. I wasn't too happy with Bailey's development. I was annoyed every time he showed up. He was very, I think that was one of the weaker parts of the story. Lynch tried to make him very, I don't want to say creepy, but that's the best word I can think of right now. Very creepy, very, and not a gross, sexual way, anything like that. Meaning like very cryptic. Maybe that's a better word. But it didn't work for me, for Bailey. After that, we got two other characters. One, the sister of Ailish. I can't remember her name right now. She doesn't play, she doesn't show up. Spoilers, oops. She lives in Canada. That's why she doesn't show up. But she does play a pretty big role, but we don't get a lot of her story. We don't get a lot of development from her. She is just there also to serve as a way to move the plot forward. But lastly, another character, Simon. Simon, he is Ailish's father, aging father. Not aging, aged. He's very old. And he unfortunately, his story might make a lot of readers upset as well. I think he was very well written. He is showing signs of Alzheimer's in this novel, and it's his story serves as another way to for Ailish to try to keep her family together and to keep them all safe. Simon is very, very rough around the edges, but he doesn't mean to be rough around the edges. You can tell that he's lost a lot of his personality as well. He's lost a lot of himself. But that's all of the characters. So those are all the characters, and I think that is going to be a lot of people's favorite part of the book. I do think the characterization and development of all of them is probably the best part. Um, if I had to rank them, I would say Mark, Larry, Ailish, and Molly, then Simon, Bailey, and then the baby. I don't care about the baby. Uh, you can form a hashtag. Jay doesn't care about babies at all. He just wasn't interesting. Another thing that I want to talk about, another thing that I really liked, at least, was the writing style. I thought the prose was beautiful, just wonderful to read. It was a very quick read. That doesn't make it good or bad, but it just flowed very easily for me as I was reading this. But I do want to give a warning to people who are not aware of how this book is written. Um, it it did take a little bit of time to get used to. It does not have any quotation marks. So you have to really pay attention to who is talking. It will say it in the middle of paragraphs, which actually I take that back. There are no paragraphs. there are no paragraph breaks at all. Well, there are spaces between scenes. Every scene gets its own paragraph in it. Sometimes a scene could be, half a page. Sometimes a scene could be 3 or 4 pages, and there's no breaks in between. So you do have to be ready for that. That does take a little bit of time to get used to, but I read, books like this in the past, so it wasn't too hard for me to get into it. And again, the prose itself made it much easier. Once I got into it, it was pretty easy to read. Now, getting into something that I did not like about the book, because I don't have major gripes with this book. It was, as I was reading this book, I was loving it. It was very upsetting, but I got really tired of it about 3/4 of the way through, where it just felt like this book, it is about a very tough subject matter, but it just felt like this book wanted to drive home, how miserable, this family has it. And so many bad things happened to this family. And I just cannot stand that part where it just feels like I had to read about something miserable. This family is suffering, and it's just suffering, suffering, suffering over and over, where it just felt like at times Paul Lynch didn't know how he wanted to move the plot. So his idea was to just make the characters suffer more. That part didn't feel very realistic either. But I know that's, me. Here I am in an air-conditioned room in the United States. I haven't experienced the Civil War. Hopefully I never will. So maybe this writing is realistic to some people, but it's just not to me. It was a tough buy-in. I was also very frustrated. Notice when I did my rankings of the characters, this entire book is from the point of view of Ailish, but I ranked Ailish just in the middle. And she can be at times the best part of the novel, but oftentimes, hopefully you don't hear my neighbors in the top, but oftentimes she is the worst part of the novel. Especially, again, 3/4 of the way through, where it just grinded to a halt. Where, in my mind, Lynch made Ailish, pardon my French, he made her stupid just for the sake of the plot, where she just kept making awful and horrible and just dumb decisions, in my opinion, just to make a point for Lynch to keep writing. That was just really frustrating. I did not like that at all. I understand. Maybe that's one of the things, what would we do to try to keep our family together? She was stuck, Does she want to leave Ireland to keep some of her family safe, or does she want to stay in Ireland to maybe save her entire family? I don't want to get into why that is, because that is spoilers. I want people to kind of, experience that for their own self. But the decisions that she made, I don't agree with them. And I think that's okay. I think that is a major part. I will give Lynch credit, even though I don't like it. I do think that's a very valid part of the writing and of the plot, where we do, as readers, we have to look at this, and try to make a decision for ourselves. Like, how would we act? And a lot of us don't know. but I hated it. I'll be honest. Um, I hated, again, the three-quarter part, but the ending to me did. Um, I thought the ending was really nice. And that's where the book was saved. Again, the whole first 60% of the novel I loved, and then there's about 61% to 80% of the novel I hated, but then the last 20% I really, really loved. When I really love a book, it's normally because there is a scene or a moment that speaks to me and that I will always think about. And the ending has one of those moments. And it's where he gets the title of his book. And that's all I'm going to say. Very beautiful moment, very beautiful writing at the end. That part did move me, and I do appreciate that. But I do hope more people read it, especially in the States. I do think this is a good book. If I had to give it a grade, I'm giving grades now instead of stars. If I had to give it a grade, I did give it a B plus with my final thoughts. Again, love the characters. I love the majority of the plot, but when I say I hate it, like 15% of the book, I really did hate it. And that did detract from my overall feelings of the book. But the ending did help ease the pain of that little chunk. But I just can't ignore it. But I would say, great book. Please give it a shot. I think people will enjoy it. So go ahead and give it a read. Let me know what you think. Yeah, I actually had just finished another book. I'll review that pretty soon as well. But thank you for watching this. Like, subscribe. I don't know what else to say. But I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.